Welcome to Valley Viewpoint. I'm Roger Johnson. My guest is Shawna Wright. She's an artist, and as of the end of 2019, she has this book, You Heard Me Crying. Shawna, you're now an author of a book.
Well, God's the author, but I guess I am too. But yes.
This is a book that has a story behind it.
It does.
Would you share that with us?
Well, it started out with me in a very, very dark place. I was really, really worried about my own child and depressed to the point where to the point of despair, really. And I'd gotten so down that the mindset was, why should I even pray for her? Because she has her choice. So what would my praying do when she has her choice? And which is really not good, but that's where I was. And God came to me, spoke to me, and showed me where I was wrong. And I really went to where I go when I'm in a tight spot. Well, I go there even in happy times now, but it's to God's promises. And so I took a journal. I love journals, and I took a journal, and over about a 2-week period, I filled the entire journal with Bible promises. And I got just hunting for them in my Bible, and I realized quickly that there's promises that you wouldn't normally think to pray for your children or your child. But if you take them and personalize them and insert their name into them, it's like, whoa, this is powerful, this is cool. And and the more I did that, something inside of me changed. Oh. And not only did I have comfort, I realized the necessity that I needed to be praying. And almost immediately I could see a change in her as well. And miracle after miracle happened. So about 3 weeks later, my husband and I were giving a Bible study. And they were excited. Jesus is coming soon. And then almost immediately their face fell and said, but what about my children? And it's like they wanted to be excited that Jesus was coming, but yet my kids aren't ready, so I don't want them to come. So what do we do? And immediately my heart was just aching, but immediately I thought, well, what do I do? I have all these treasures, these promises that comforted me. And I said, I really would want, this is what they need. What do I do? Do I just photocopy my book? Do I give it to them? And I was praying the very next morning, comfort ye, comfort me, my people. That verse came through my mind. And I'm never one to let things just rest. I just, when an idea comes in my head, I'm on it. The very next day I started painting, and I started these books. And I started, for a girl, and then quickly within a day or two I realized I had to make 2, because if I'm personalizing them, the pronouns, so I ended up having to do one for a son and a daughter, even though I don't have a son, but I have a son-in-law, so. But that's how it came.
And therefore the subtitle,
that's
You
right.
Heard Me Crying, and then the subtitle, For
Yes.
My Son.
And I'm holding the one for my daughter.
And so in the process of painting, you recognized you had to be aware of the gender.
I did.
part.
And as you looked at it, you may have noticed that. The daughter, the one for the daughter, I focused on spring colors and flowers. Of course, birds. There's always birds. That's just a given. Birds and Bible promises are always on my art. But so the girls is birds and Bible promises with flowers, with spring colors. And then the sons is autumn colors and more of a rustic, masculine feel. So which was a little bit of hard for me because I don't have a son. And I'm not a man, but yet you're appealing for a mother and masculine at the same time. That was a challenge, but I think we won.
Well, I'm so glad that you mentioned that even to me. I didn't look, I was assuming they would be the same. But
No.
so you have definitely considered the gender
Yes.
and with the colorations of, oh my. I'll have to take a look at the one with the son, even though I have it here.
Yeah.
I looked at the one for the daughters since I know you have
Oh,
daughters.
okay, yeah, yeah. And there's fairly close to the same verses, but there's a few that work better for one gender than the other. So there's a little bit of variation, but definitely the artwork is variation, for sure.
Well, give us a taste of what you,
Sure.
kind of a peek of what this book is like, this
Well,
journal
first of all,
experience.
There's a page where, a tarot page, where I tell an idea of how I think how you could use it, a suggestion of how I could use it, you use it. And which I might as well tell you that now. and how it is there are paintings where you write your son or your daughter's name right into it. There'll be 2 pages, then you turn the page, and then there's 2 blank pages. And there's a verse on the bottom of that.
Of those
Of the
journaling.
journaling
blanks.
pages. And on the bottom of every journaling page is a different promise. So there's another promise. There's additional promises. To the 50 paintings, there's additional promises on the journaling pages. So these pages, how I'm personally using them is to write promises or other prayers, prayers and other promises that I find. And then at the back, there's a section for answered prayers, and it's titled Answered Prayers, because you will have them, I promise you. And then at the very back is several pages of just plain blank for maybe memories and mementos and whatever you think. And so how it starts out with that. And then at the very beginning, I think this is very important, is a dedication. So I have it that this book is dedicated to my daughter, and you put her name right into it. I promise to pray for her, love her unconditionally, and give God room to work. Important. Because how often are we maybe in the way? You know? I know I have been. And if we are just loving unconditionally and praying and giving God room to work, you are going to see a difference.
And that's what you highlighted. You
Yes.
found out that you had changed
Yes.
as you were praying for your special one,
Yes.
that you changed.
Yes. And I think that we may not even be aware that we could be the one blocking.
Possibly.
Not always, but there is that chance. Now, these are specific. I had that in mind as for a child that has wandered. It wouldn't have to be that specifically for that, but this is where my heart was when I made the book.
And obviously, when a person comes to, we haven't even talked about how you can access these,
Yes.
but maybe we can even talk about that now. Where
Sure.
would you access this new book as of November?
Well, locally, here in Walla Walla, you can at College Place at the ABC. They have them there, or on my website at shawnawrightart.com. I have a store online where I have various things, calendars, cards, and prints, originals, whichever, and so it's available there as well. Oh. So then, if you want to carry on into the book.
Oh yes, I'd love to see.
Okay, so how it starts out with is we need comfort. You pick this up, your heart is probably breaking at that point, like mine was. And you heard me crying is why it was titled that. So it starts out the very first pages of comfort. And it starts out with the Lamentations 57. You heard me crying. Yes, you came and told me, do not fear. Do not fear, for I am with, and there's a blank. Don't worry, I am her God. I will strengthen her. Yes, I will help her. I will hold her up with my righteous right hand. Isaiah 41:10.
I can see how that really can come alive in
When
the
the
scripture.
name, yes.
And the gender change
Yes.
appropriately
Yes.
for this special one, in this case, a daughter.
And there are these exact same pages with the son for these ones too. Blessed are those who cry now, for they will laugh. Luke 6:21. Jesus saw the mother, and his heart was moved with compassion. Don't cry. Luke 7:13. You see my tears, and you collect them in your bottle. Psalms 56:8. So that's how it starts. And then there's a place for you to put some, maybe your tears. And then we go on to cast all your worries and anxiety on God, because he cares about, my daughter's name would go there, 1 Peter 5:7. Give your worries about her to the Lord, and he will sustain you. He will never let you lose faith. I love that. He will never let you lose faith. So that's how it starts out. And there's some more real gems in there, but that's where we are for now.
Well, Shawna, you had mentioned to me just before this interview that you had heard that there were some parents buying this for their children.
Yes. Some have picked it up, and they haven't really read that it's an interactive journal claiming promises for your daughter or son. And they wanted
So
to
the subtitle,
gift it.
yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
they thought it was a gift to give their child, and they were going to write their name in it and actually give it to them for Christmas. So I don't know how many actually did that, but I want to
Clarify
that
for the
this
parents.
is for the parent to claim promises, their personal journal. So
We have, just before the break,
Yes.
again, talk about how people would be able to get a hold of you on the internet, for example. Just
well, I have a website, and it's shawnawrightart.com, and on there is not only what I have, the journals, the store, and that I also do a weekly blog, or if you aren't familiar what a blog is, for me, I have little short devotionals. And just, I know we're busy people, everybody's busy, so it's less than 1 page long. Little stories, short, usually things that have happened to me, and all with the focus of a Bible promise. So that's what you would find on my website. And my cousin did a beautiful job. You'll enjoy it. All the art I've ever done is on there. And all the paintings of my Bible is in there as well, so you'll enjoy it.
sounds like a great store to go to. We'll be right back with Shawna Wright. I'm interviewing Shawna Wright, and we have just been talking about this new book that is just off the printing press, You Heard Me Crying. And Shawna, you were talking about some of the background of why you felt inspired by God
Yes.
to do something for parents that were in pain. And the number one pain
Was
that
my
you,
own.
was your own pain.
Yes.
But you've discovered that many
And-
parents.
Well, after I realized, how God showed me how to look after my own pain, I realized that there was other people that were. And I talked to other mothers who were in the same condition that I was, who weren't even praying, because they felt, how can I pray? Because how will God can't get in the way of their own personal choice. So why would my prayers make a difference? And that's a lie. And I think part of that may be maybe something to protect, maybe a protection of our own heart, maybe a protection of my prayer maybe won't get answered, and maybe I'm going to help God out, and it's a lie. We're told in Colossians to be persistent in our prayers, and there's also the promise, and I don't remember where it's found, but with a fervent prayer of a righteous person availeth much. And it's that fervent, persistent praying. And I believe claiming the promises, personalizing them, there's extra power in praying that. And so, you know, and as this went along, I began finding more verses than were in my original journal. And of course, life had carried on. This was over 2 years that I was doing this. And I may run into an incident in my life, and I would journal about, do a painting particular for that problem. And there was a particular time when my child was in a situation that I felt was a trap of the devil. It really was. I believe trapped. And I didn't know, you know, at the same time, people were telling me that I needed to do paintings about maybe praying for their finances, praying about their schooling, praying about this, and people were pulling me from all different directions on what I should put in my journals. And so I was praying about that, and God said, Shawna, what you need to do is make it for your own. Put your heart into it, your emotion to it, and others will feel it as well. So I put cotton in my ears and went back to what I was doing. So at that moment, at that time, this trap idea was in my mind. And this isn't a pretty picture to look at. In fact, it's hard. And there's a similar one in both books. But it's a picture of a bird trapped in a net. And that's how I feel our children can be. We can be ourselves sometimes. So I'll read this. Surely he will deliver, your child's name, from the snare of the fowler, Psalms 91:3. He doesn't ignore those who cry out to him for help. And I was crying out for help for my child, and so, you know, and sometimes so do they, and I believe she was too. My eyes are looking to the Lord for help, for he alone can rescue her from the trap of the enemy. And you know, this personal situation, within days, I got a phone call.
Oh my.
And she was delivered out of that trap.
Oh.
And I just praise God that he used this and he heard me. I know it was the direct prayer from going over this promise.
Praise the Lord.
Yes.
I can't help but see these pictures as I speak, and perhaps our viewers will be able to see these as well. But the one on the left where he's caught in this trap, in this web, and the feathers are ruffled and that sort of thing. And the one on the right where the promise fits so well that he's been delivered. And it's so beautiful, the contrast between the left page where the bird is caught and the one that's free and put together again.
And so this is, although not the prettiest page, is one very special to me. Now there's another one that's really special to me. And I like to share this with the mums that...
And it's the one with the sun?
It's in the Sons. And there's the same form in the Daughters, but I will read it out of the Sons. If I can find it, I believe I have a little marker right here. Here we go. And I often hear mums say, well, my children, you know, they've been hurt in the church, they'll never come back, or all sorts of different things, but my children are gone and they're just hurt, you know, and they almost have given up. And I love to put this into their hands and let them read. And I'll have strangers hugging me and tears dripping down their faces. So I love this page.
You verified this. The power of the art and scripture combined.
Oh, yes.
It moves them to tears.
Oh, almost. If they have a child and their heart is hurt, they will cry, I promise you. I will save the weak and the helpless ones. I will bring together those who were chased away. Zephaniah 3:19. Thousands upon thousands are waiting in the valley of decision. It is there that the day of the Lord will soon arrive. Joel 3:14. We don't know. They're in the valley. Because they're in the valley of decision doesn't mean they all have decided no. There's thousands of them waiting there. I was found by people who were not looking for me. I showed myself to those who were not asking for me.
That's outstanding. What's the address on that one?
That's Romans 10:20.
Oh, I love that.
And it gives me goosebumps.
How long does it take to paint a painting? And I'm thinking of Shawna painting with all these emotions and all the backstories that are going on as you paint.
Yeah.
It must be incredible bonding.
It is. And what I'll do is I'll paint during my devotional time in the morning. And I will either listen to the Bible online or a good devotional book while I'm painting. That's generally when I do my painting. When it's the quiet morning, I get up between 4:35 and paint for a few hours. So
and during some seasons, you may even hear some birds outside.
At times. So you asked me how long. To be the honest truth, it probably takes me a longer time to figure out what I'm going to paint than actually to paint it. Because I'm always looking for birds that I can paint that aren't copyrighted. Like bird photographers, if you have good bird pictures and would like to help me out, my email address is Shawna at ShawnaWrightArt.com. So I would love them.
That's available on your website
yes,
as well.
It is as well.
So
but
if people would like to respond to this interview or to give you suggestions, you're open to.
I am, as long as they aren't ones you just found on the internet. If these are ones you took yourself and give me permission to use, I am welcome.
Oh, that's
I
a
welcome
wonderful
them.
offer, Shawna. There may be some watching. You may have another page of background story, but how did this start? Could you just briefly...
The paintings and the birds?
Yes, and you tell your story, I believe, in your calendar.
Yes, I do.
There about how this all began.
And this is calendar number 5. I'm working on number 6 already. Can you believe that?
It wasn't, but like 8 years ago, you were doing stick figures.
Oh, less than that.
Less?
Less than that. It's only been 4.5 years since I've started painting. So how it was my father was injured. He was in Canada and he was injured and he was depressed and I wanted to encourage him. So I had taken a blank journal and I'd read writing Bible promises in them and scanning them and sending them by email every day. And I think I did that for over a year or more. So then I started decorating them a little bit with maybe a little color here and a little color there. And played around with a little bit of art with some kids painting that. So on his birthday, just for fun, I did this bird and a Bible promise on it, and it was like, what just happened? And I said it to Dad, and he goes, I'm going to frame that. And then I thought, well, that was fun. So I did a whole 12 of them for a calendar, and people heard about it. And we did 98 calendars that year, and then it's just grown from there. But I missed an extremely key point that I need to back up. Yes, I was doing that for my father, but just before I painted the painting for him, I had been praying earnestly that God would give me something to do for him, a ministry. So I believe directly it was a miracle, answer to that prayer, that painting, and all these other paintings with the Bible promises.
He revealed this artistic gift that had never been revealed before.
No.
Not 8 years ago, but
No.
4.5
yes.
years ago.
Yes.
And this is all in answer to that prayer
Yes.
that God has filled you with the artistic gifts that we see here today, so
Yes.
beautifully presented. And again, your website, just before we close?
ShawnaWrightArt.com.
Shawna, it's been a privilege to have you once again on Valley Viewpoint. Thank you for joining us on the set today, and thank you for joining us on the set. I'm Roger Johnson.